Chad and Swisher do a community podcast. And before we get started today, we'd like to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by the Oh Hi, Oh Guys Productions, powered by RealNerdCorp.com, live on twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this podcast. Chad and Swisher do a community podcast. I'm your host for this evening. My name is Alex Swisher. I'm the Crown Vic of podcasting, and I'm going to be one of your two guides on this journey through the community television show. Joining me, as always, my trusty co-host. You might know him as Bud from The Cosby Show, but I prefer to reference him by his given name, Chad Porto. Chad, how you doing?
I don't know which nicknames you ever go with, so they're always gonna.
I'm going in order that the list on the fandom wiki is giving me.
Well, I'm not going on the fandom wiki, and I don't ever know which one you're on anymore. So I'm just like, okay.
So yes, this is the inaugural edition of our community podcast. The fantastic show that ran from 2009 to
2014,
2014, 2015, I think. Yeah. Of course, starring Joel McHale and friends.
Joel McHale, Gillian Jacobs, Danny Pudi, Yvette Nicole Brown, Allison Brie, Donald Glover, Ken Jeong, and Chevy Chase, with Jim Rash being really a main cast member as well. That's like the first 4 seasons cast right there.
My girlfriend, she says that she thinks her favorite character is the Dean.
Dean. Wait, hang on. Dean. Wait, god damn it. I can't think of the damn song he was doing. He walked in in like a Victorian outfit, and he was like doing the Dean.
Oh,
Dean.
yeah.
I can't. I can hear it, but I can't enunciate it.
So yes, before I pass this off to Chad, who is going to be our guide for season 1, just telling you this is episode 1. We are going through freshman year, season 1. The subtitle for this episode, which you will see if you are downloading it and listening to it, you will see the title: Annie's Boobs and Bawghles.
Bawghles. Uh-oh, there goes all the Bawghles.
There goes all the Bawghles. The what? Oh, man.
Can we just agree that the best line... All right, so Bawghles is great, like, phenomenal. So that's like the best one line. But the best dialogue tree has to go to Jeff trying to convince Troy to play football.
Oh, my God.
It's in your soul.
Yes.
That's racist. It's in your eyes.
He says, it's in your blood. And he says, that's racist. He says, it's in your soul. He says, that's racist. He says, it's in your eyes. He goes, that's gay.
That's homophobic. Goes, that's black. That's racist.
That's racist. Damn. It's one of the best. Oh, God.
Is that linebacker pregnant?
Is that linebacker pregnant? Oh, man.
So... what we're trying to do these podcasts better, and one of the things that I think we need to do is hit more on the interpersonal dynamics, because that's what makes these shows so good. So we're not going to just hit all the episodes, although we will go through a truncated list. We'll go through a brief summary of all of them, but we won't talk about all of them necessarily. But we will pick our 5 favorites from this season.
Yes,
and it's pretty much going to be all of them are good. So I'm going to just, let Swish pick his 5 favorites, and then I'll go with a different list entirely. But this show, more than anything, is built on the interpersonal relationships of the 7 core members. Why 7 and not 8? I don't know. Although, several times they do bring in an 8th member to disastrous effects. Like, do you remember when Jack Black... Yeah. tried to come in?
Yes, it was, I think, episode 13, which was like right after. It's the start of their second semester after they get back from winter break.
Yes. Buddy.
Yeah.
And Buddy sang the Annie's Got a Sexy Body song, and Jeff's like, we try not to sexualize Annie.
Yes, but that episode also had a guest appearance from Crooked Nose himself, Owen Wilson.
Yes, and I still can't figure out which Wilson brother is which in terms of their name. It's never good.
Owen's the blonde, Luke is the not blonde.
You can tell me that 1,000 times, but just like I will always stumble over Jack Nicholson, I'm just not going to figure it out.
All right, can we talk about who our least favorite person from season 1 is and why it was Eric Christian Olsen?
With his weird nipples.
Fucking micro nipples, dude.
Cause Britta's a bee. Britta's a bee.
Getting rid of the bee. She's a no good bee.
So this here's each character in a nutshell. You got Jeff, your wisecracking, fast talking, will say whatever he has to say to do whatever he needs to do to get his way, ex-lawyer. And he has the line of the first episode where he sits down with Professor Duncan, played by what's his name? He does that show on HBO.
John Oliver.
Yeah, John Oliver. So John Oliver's sitting there, and Jeff's like, I needed a law degree. And John Oliver's character goes, I thought you had one from Columbia. And Jeff goes, and now I need one from America.
Such a great line.
For those wondering, this show is essentially written by the same guy that created Rick and Morty. So if you like that show, you're going to love this show.
Oh, yeah, it is a Dan Harmon thing, isn't it?
Yep. So Jeff is disbarred from his law practice and from the state of Colorado, right? They're in Colorado?
I believe so.
I think that's where they're at. So he has to go to the community college, get a degree. He meets Britta in his Spanish class, and he instantly wants to sleep with her. As Jeff is a playboy, this comes natural to him.
Very strange.
Very strange. She's definitely not down for the sickness.
Down with the sickness.
She is not. So she blows him off until Jeff tells her that he's a Spanish board-certified tutor. And because of this, he convinces Britta to do a study session. She invites members of their Spanish class together, which is made up of Danny Pudi's Abed Nadir. We have Yvette Nicole Brown, Shirley Bennett, Allison Breeze, Annie Edison, Donald Glover's Troy Barnes, and Chevy Chase's Pierce Hawthorne. All these characters are from different walks of life, which is set up in the intro of the first episode where they talk about it doesn't matter if you're a loser, a reject, a high school athlete, I forget what he called Annie. And then he's like, here you can be, and then like they go to the next card. And he just like fucking fucks up the entire speech, and he starts looking for the last. The entire intro sets up the show perfectly for the first episode. But we find out that Britta is a high school dropout who spent most of her youth doing protesting, and now she's trying to get a degree, but she doesn't know in what yet. Abed Nadir is a very socially awkward, possibly Asperger suffering 20-something-year-old who is very into film. And that's really his only connection to reality is through that medium. Shirley
comes from a controlling family.
I don't know if controlling is fair, but his father does have a certain idea of what he wants his son to do. But I think that's more because his son is also very unique.
True. I mean, it all gets covered in his episode.
Right. So then we also have Shirley, who's a recent divorcee, who's actually married to Bud from Cosby. No, Bud was the little kid, wasn't he?
I'm pretty sure Bud was a little kid.
Yeah,
I don't know. The Cosby Show was well before my time.
Right. I only caught the Raven Simone years, so.
And I definitely cannot go back and watch it.
Yeah. The oldest son from the Cosby Show is married to Shirley. I forget his name. And on the show, it's Andre. Then we have Troy Barnes, played by Donald Glover, who is a high school quarterback who was going to go to like big Division I college football team, but because of the anxiety of having to continue his stellar play, he ends up faking an injury to not go. Although that's later revealed in the first season. It's just in the first episode, it's revealed that he had a catastrophic keg flip injury. And I think it was implied originally that instead of him going over on the keg and the flip, that he brought the keg over on him for the flip. But I'm
so glad that you didn't fuck it up and call it a keg stand, because that's like a point of contention in that episode.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He goes,
I did a keg
you got
flip,
injured on a
not a keg stand.
He says, they're like, I'm pretty sure it's Jeff who goes, Troy, you got injured on a keg stand. He goes, I'll have you know it was a keg flip. Thank you.
Then we also have Troy's former high school castmate. God damn it.
Classmate.
Thank you. I was going through every other word but classmate. In
You were
Annie
right
Addison's.
there.
I was dancing on that line. She is the valedictorian, or was going to be the valedictorian of her high school, but she ended up suffering a nervous breakdown during one of the last few days of school, and she sprinted through a glass window and ended up in rehab because she was strung out on energy pills, essentially. Basically, she was Jesse Spano from Saved by the Bell.
Oh my God, that episode. Holy shit.
And then we have arguably the only person who doesn't need to be here for anything specific, Pierce Hawthorne. I think he says at one point he's been there for 6 years at the start of season 1, and he's the son of a moist towelettes.
Yeah, moist towelettes.
Moist towelettes. I've never actually said that word out loud.
Huh.
So yeah, he's the what's the word? The inheritance of a moist towelette conglomerate. He's filthy rich, but he's lonely, so utterly lonely. So he keeps taking classes at the community college so he can have human interaction. It's
Pretty much.
It's so sad. Their teacher's Ben Chang, a Korean who teaches Spanish. But the best part is Ben's brother is a rabbi, Rabbi Chang. And
so great.
There's a line in season 1 where it's family day, and his brother comes to visit dressed up in his official religious Hebrew garments, and he chastises Ben and goes, "Senor Chang, Ben, that's ridiculous," and he walks away. And I'm just like,
Yeah, he goes, Senor Chang, do you realize how ridiculous that sounds?
And then it was right before or right after Jim Rash's Dean Craig Pelton walks in and goes, "Senor Chang, and Rabbi Chang."
Rabbi Chang.
And I'm not gonna lie, every time I heard Rabbi Chang, I thought of Kabai Sang from the Phantom movie. Kabai Sang.
That whole episode is just ridiculous because the interaction between Pierce and Rabbi Chang towards the end.
Plus,
you know exactly what I'm talking about. The windmill.
Yes. This is why windmill should be banned from Pictionary.
I can't believe that's an actual written line. This is exactly why I won't stop my fight until Pictionary bans windmill as a word.
So the interpersonal relationships are pretty complicated with everyone. Obviously,
I would say so.
The crux of it is built around the romantic dynamic at first between Jeff and Britta, and eventually Jeff and Annie. Although Jeff and Annie never really comes to fruition, it's more of the will they not, how come they not, instead of the will they won't they. But Jeff and Britta happens quite vigorously. But
I would say so.
That's the two angles for most of the series, but mostly season 1 it's Jeff and Britta. Jeff and Abed end up more or less becoming best friends in season 1, as they're very much the same type of personality, just in different scopes. They're both very shallow. But for Jeff, it's a choice to not get close to anyone because his father left and his mother babied him. So he has a high sense of self-worth. In Abed's sense, he does not know how to connect with people beyond a superficial level. So
oh man, their relationship is actually fucking amazing. And,
it is.
There's one episode in particular that really points that out for me.
Well, in the first episode, Abed brings up some clarifying thought, and Jeff goes, "I see your value now, Abed." And I think at the season finale of the episode before the. Sorry, I had to sneeze. The episode before the season finale of season 1, Abed returns the line to Jeff, "Jeff, I see your value now." And Jeff just kind of smiles and goes, "Thank you, Abed." But there's also a great line, a scene where Abed and Jeff have to get drunk together, so Jeff could leave an embarrassing voicemail.
That's a great one. Yeah. I'm trying to remember exactly. I don't remember which episode it is exactly, but it's fuck, I'm trying to remember it because it's again. There's the key point is Jeff and Abed trying to understand something, and Abed goes into director mode basically, and he starts viewing everything as a movie, and he just keeps pointing out everything to Jeff. He's like, now this is gonna happen, and then it happens. He goes, and now she's gonna say this, and then it happens, and it's not his movies one where he's predicting the future, but it's a later episode. I just can't remember exactly how it goes.
Well, the movies one was Football, Feminism, and You.
Yes.
I don't remember which one the other one. I do think because I think there's another one, but goddamn, I keep sneezing. I'm allergic to your bullshit, Swisher.
I haven't done anything, so this is your fault.
So, with Jeff and Shirley, it's more of a loose relationship, at least until I think season 2, where we find out more about their shared backstory, or season 3 maybe even. But in season 1, they're the least compatible, and that's actually a joke brought up several times in the in the first season. Jeff and Troy end up having a what the hell? Hang on. Much like in season 3, this cat needs to be dealt with. All right. Hopefully that works. I just removed my nose. It was bloodied, but we should be all right. Jeff and Troy end up having kind of a minor rivalry at points. They both see themselves out as like the alpha dog in the group, but Troy is very much not confident enough in himself truly to ever take that kind of position. So it always comes off more like, Troy comes off more like he's like a little puppy learning to howl than anything. And it's often, and whenever he tries to assert himself, it's often met with Shirley and Annie's condescending, aww. There is a romantic tension between Jeff and Annie. Annie is 18, so it's often described as creepy that they would have a thing for one another. Jeff often buries it and denies it, but Annie quite intensely has a fondness for Jeff that is very overt.
Yes.
And Jeff and Pierce just don't get along. Mostly, and as Jeff says, because Pierce is a racist, homophobic bigot, which he is. In fact, in the first episode, Troy says, and for the last time, Shirley's not my mother. And Pierce goes, she's not? So that's how they all interact. And Jeff's is the focal point of most of the relationships. But Britta and Abed have a relationship as well. Britta, at least in season 1, is very babying of Abed and tries to protect him. Britta and Shirley are often at odds because they're conflicting ideologies. Britta's very liberal, very anarchist, burn the system down. Annie's very conservative, very religious. She often refers to things as in the marijuana, or the pornography. Britta and Troy have a dynamic as well, similar to Jeff and Annie's, and that's actually kicked up on in season 4. And Pierce's dynamic with Britta is basically him being very helpful in helping Britta come out of the closet because Pierce keeps calling her a lesbian. In fact, I think it's in season 2, Pierce has a letter ready to go for when he actually thinks Britta's going to come out of the closet, and he reads it, and Jeff responds with, that was oddly supportive. So Annie's Shirley's dynamic with the group is the den mother, if you will. Constantly trying to keep everyone to do the right thing, but she also uses her guilt quite a bit to get her way, and that's really brought around in the Christmas episode, where Anthony Michael Hall gets into a fight with Abed over Snickerdoodles. And Jeff responds to the best line ever: if you want to be angry about the cookie, stop saying his name, because you're really undercutting your point there. I want my Snickerdoodles! She and Pierce have a contentious relationship as well, because Pierce finds her attractive, but he goes about it vastly inappropriately, which offends Shirley. And Shirley and Annie don't really have much of an express dynamic in season 1, but there is a obvious trend that Shirley's trying to convert her because Annie's Jewish.
Yes, that gets brought up, I think, a couple times at least in season 1. Yeah, I remember one line towards the end of the season where she says something about her trying to, you don't like me because I'm Jewish, and Shirley says, well, I'm sorry, I wanted to try and sneak you into heaven.
Right, because Shirley had invited Annie over for a barbecue, but it was a surprise baptism.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. He's like, you invited me over for a barbecue and under the guise of a barbecue when in fact you tried to give me a surprise baptism. Well, I'm sorry for trying to sneak you into heaven.
During the Christmas episode, Shirley's like, let's have Christmas. And then we find out that Britta's an atheist, Abed's a Muslim. Technically, he's a Judeo-Christian Muslim because his mother is Polish and a Christian. Troy is a Jehovah's Witness, so there's a funny gag when he finally turns 21 or 20. That they think it's 20. They get him a cake, and it's like happy random day that coincides with the expulsion from your mother's womb. That was great. We find out that Pierce is in a cult.
Yeah.
He's a laser lotus Buddha. And we find out that Jeff is agnostic, and everyone boos him because, like, that's the poor man, or that's the lazy man's atheist. But during the Christmas episode, when she finds this all out, and she goes, oh, well, you can all bring your religious doodads and whatnots. And then Annie hands her a menorah, and Shirley just kind of stares at it like she doesn't know what to do, so she shoves it onto the tree.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But there's also a great running joke with Annie and her Judaism, where they're talking about her being Jewish, but they keep calling her Jew. And she's like, say the whole word. And Pierce responds with, Jewy? Like, oh my God, it's so good. So the other big dynamic outside of what we just covered falls under Abed and Troy. At first, Abed is trying to be friends with everyone, and he accomplishes that. Abed is actually quite awesome. But Troy is maybe the most hesitant besides Pierce, who just refers to Abed as a terrorist. And Troy makes fun of him. He keeps him at bay. He doesn't really open up too much with him. But by the end of the season, they're best friends. And they're the catalyst for a lot of the joint jokes that go on in the show that reoccur. Like the puppy parades, the morning show that they host that actually isn't a morning show, just them getting together, and there's random students in the background with signs. And that, I think what was it, season 2, where they bring in the Dr. Pottery guy, Doc Potterywood.
Oh,
and he's
I
like,
think so, yeah.
And he's like, Doc Potterywood. And Jeff walks in and goes, Doc Potterywood, this isn't a real show, right? And the guy just goes, yeah, but it's a tremendous way to start the day. And then like them and Troy and Abed go, Troy and Abed in the morning. So it's funny running gags and all of that stuff. But the relationships drive the show, and they do change as the seasons go on, and the characters do change. And I think if there's a criticism about the show, it's that some of the characters become far too tropey. Britta goes from being kind of an oblivious, self-righteous activist to being just dumb. And I don't know why that decision was made. Like, it used to be like she was the person who had like the CD player still, and like she would be like, I'm hip, I'm trendy, it's hipster or whatever.
That's the Schmitty episode.
Yeah, that's a Schmitty episode. Oh God, that episode.
Oh,
But then
that episode made me so mad.
Because the solution to that is just beating their asses.
Dude,
but you can't because they're 17.
I know. When he turned around and walked up to them and started doing the duh thing, I was like hoping he's just like, you know what? This is about my pride. And he turns around, he just punches this little fucking kid in the face.
Well, that's not what happens.
Yeah, but it'd have been better for TV if you ask me.
Right, like that's one of those where like Annie should have just knocked him out because what are they gonna do?
That would have been great if Annie had knocked him out. But I think at that point, Annie's 18.
Right, but still, it's Annie, and the cop who would have arrested her literally had an entire diatribe about windmills in Pictionary. I don't think he would have arrested her.
Yeah.
Plus,
That's
in
right.
season 3, Abed calls that same cop to his apartment by happenstance, and the cop goes, "Yeah, we lost our police chief last night, murdered, leaves behind a wife and 2 children." So you're missing a DVD, you say? So that cop would not have arrested Annie. But anyway, Britta ends up becoming really dumb, and I think that really harms the series to a degree.
Yeah.
She's the only one that goes radically different. Like, Abed goes... Like, he's always the third dimension, fourth dimension wall breaking character, and he adjusts to that dynamic because in season 1, he's making all the obvious, notifications and points out, oh yeah, well, this is a bottle episode. But then in season 2, he's like, I don't know, we leaned pretty hard on that self-meta-ness last year, so I'm gonna just hang back. And then in season 3, he starts impersonating new characters, and so he's very aware, and that helps him out. Troy becomes a lot more childlike as the seasons grow on, and I don't know if that was the right move to start with him being the cocky jock and just going so hard right with that, but I think his is a lot more accepted because of the bond and relationship that comes out of the Troy and Abed dynamic because of that. But everyone else really kind of stays the same. Like, Jeff doesn't really go too hard out on anyone or in any way, shape, or form. Neither does Annie. Pierce stays Pierce for the entirety of the series. And Annie, I think, is the most logically growth character throughout the entirety. Like, she starts off very naive and very, she's got the puppy dog eyes for Troy, then she's got the puppy dog eyes for Jeff. But then at the end of the series, she's like, I'm going to go to D.C. and go join the CIA or the FBI or whatever the fuck it was. And he's like, I can't believe you grew up. And she, he says something like, I can't believe you're leaving. And she's like, well, it's been 6 years. I grew up. And I'm like,
yeah,
she did. So, the cast relationships are great. There is a minor caveat, and that's Senor Chang. He goes full psychotic.
Yep.
But then again, we saw hints of that in season 1. He plays the keytar. That's bothersome enough. He smashed the hell out of Winger's car. He faked his Spanish degree to get in. He has some weird hatred for British people because he's always going after Duncan. It's a weird character, and all they do with him, I feel, is like peeled off the layers as the seasons went on. So, we do have some minor characters though. We have Craig Pelton, the Dean, who ends up becoming, I think, a starring character later on. In season 1, he's mostly just the guy who does clever wordplay. Like, he comes in and instead of saying like "Vidi Vidi Vici," I came, I saw, I conquered. Dean Pelton comes in and says, "Dini Dini Vici," and that becomes his shtick. At the end of season 1, though, he unlocks his sexuality, though.
Oh my God.
And
that was a scene and a half.
It was, and it's the setup to the I apologize, the tranny dance, which is his version of a transfer dance. I needed to explain that. And he's like, it's a transfer dance, whereas I'm calling it the tranny dance. I think Jeff goes, don't call it that. And as he's looking up things to do for the transfer dance, he discovers furry porn. And his exact words are, I hope this doesn't awaken something inside of me. Guess what? It does.
Spoiler alert.
And I think in season 6 they finally address it, and she's like, "What are you?" It was Frankie, and Frankie's like, "What are you, gay?" And he goes, 1, none of your business. 2, doesn't even begin to describe me.
Well, because that's the big contentious point in season 1 for the Dean is that he is constantly flirting with Jeff.
Very subtly. It becomes a lot more overt as the series continues.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to tell that he is in fact a homosexual. There's an episode in season 1 where Jeff has to play pool, and he ends up playing pool with with the pool teacher.
It's Sean's dad from Boy Meets World.
Yes. He plays pool with him, and it's all about them looking cool versus love of the sport. So they're playing in these ridiculous shorts. The best
High
example
school gym
for the
shorts.
the best example for an outfit, the outfit exactly that I can give you is the episode of Supernatural. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, where Dean becomes a gym teacher and he starts beaming children with balls, and he's like, I love this job.
Exactly.
Greatest episode. But it's any high school gym uniform, essentially.
Yes. And then they eventually end up stripped down completely naked, and to make the final shot, Jeff lifts a leg up on the table, showing the entire crowd behind him
His bits.
entire glory. All of his glory, and to which the dean casually just snaps a picture.
It's also here where Annie decides to take a peek.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite moments is watching. So they both rip off their underwear.
Literally.
And
Instead of just taking it off, they
Yes.
rip it off, and it
rip their underwear in half. Yes.
It's so painful.
And Annie catches a look at Jeff, who she's already had some sort of feelings for by this point, and she cannot avert her eyes. And then Jeff kicks that leg up on the table, and she doesn't want to look, but she does.
It's just it's well done.
Ridiculous.
It's well done. So throughout most of season 1 and most of season 2, though, the dean's general theme isn't so much his budding sexuality; it's his insecurity with being the dean of a community college that no one respects.
Yes.
That's the crux of most of the first season. In fact, that's why whenever he comes in, he's always announcing a new dance. Because if people are, and I think he even says at one point it was like the Valentine's Day dance, I think. He goes, "Oh, we're going to have a Valentine's Day dance. Just like a real college."
Yeah, pretty much.
So the ensemble recurring cast, though, really drives home just the chaos that this college brings to the table. We have Alex Starburns Osborne, played by, I think he's one of the writers, in Dino Stampatopoulos. So basically, he's a dude who's in his 40s who has sideburns that are shaved to look like stars, and they call him Starburns, and he hates it. And I think at one point they finally say, if you don't want to be called Starburns, just shave off your stars. But he doesn't. Then we have Leonard Briggs, who unfortunately just passed away a year or two ago, played by Richard Erdeman. He's an older student, probably 15 years older than Pierce, and he's part of the hipster crowd, as Troy so lovingly called them. Guys so old they'll break their hips. Or have new hips, I think is what he said. And he's constantly in a turf war with with what we dub the study group. And usually it's something like a kind of like a what's the character name from Simpsons that always does the crazy laugh at Bart? Melvin?
Oh, Nelson?
Nelson. Basically, Leonard is Community's Nelson. He always will hit a scene with a ha! And then Jeff will respond with, "Shut up, Leonard. I saw your YouTube video. You know, who cares about frozen pizza?" And Leonard will respond with something like, "You're talking about it, so it's working." And then Jeff will just be like, "Damn it." And that's usually his entire involvement with the show.
My favorite was the Family Day one, where they're talking about family. Or it wasn't the Family Day one. It was one, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was after the Family Day one, but Leonard goes, "Ha!" And Jeff goes, "Shut up, Leonard. I talked to your son at Family Day, and I know about your gambling problem."
That's a great
And
one.
Leonard just goes, "Touche."
But that's his role for the 6 seasons he's on the show. We also have Garrett Lambert, and Garrett, I'm going to tell you how Garrett's story ends, and you can understand how great Garrett is. Garrett marries his cousin. You don't need to know anything more about that.
Yeah, pretty much.
In season 6, Garrett marries his cousin. Garrett is a high-pitched, whiny, lispy, overweight young man who only has volumes 8 through 10. He's always shouting, and during season 2's, or I think it was season 2, the mock UN debate, he's the one screaming, "Crisis alert!" into the microphone all the time.
Yeah.
We have Professor Michelle Slater, who only shows up in season 1, really. She's Jeff's kind of de facto love interest outside of Britta. That's really all she is. Played by Lauren Stamile, and she's gorgeous, so, like, you know, Stamile.
Yeah, she is gorgeous.
Oh, my God. And Jeff ends up getting her to go out with him, or sleep with him, technically by begging her. And it works.
Yeah, so he tries all these different moves on her, and they don't work. And Pierce goes, "Well, have you tried this one?"
Chang.
Was it not? Oh, it was Chang. That's
He's
right.
like, you know, you're
Chang.
so handsome, you wouldn't even bother trying this move.
Yeah. Fucking. Oh God, yeah. And then he walks up and he just goes, "Please have sex with me. Oh God, please, just please have sex with me,
You're
please,
so
right
pretty,
now.
and I'm so lonely.
You're
Please
so
have
pretty.
sex with me."
I'm so lonely. Please have sex with me."
And she's like, "You have no
man.
idea," and she just goes, "Fine, but stay 10 feet behind me." So we also have Professor Ian Duncan John Oliver. He's around for the first 2 seasons, and then he comes back, I think, in season 5. So he's a drunk, I think he's English, drunk Englishman who's friends with Jeff from before they attended the same before Jeff came to Greendale, and he's basically just drunk and he's bad at his jobs and pretty easy. In season 1, we have Vaughn Miller, played by Eric Christian Olsen, who has weird nipples, dates Britta, then dates Annie, and his entire being on the show is for 2 reasons. One, to give us 2 really catchy songs that are basically the same song in Britta, You're a B, and then Pierce, You're a B. And also to allow Jeff and Shirley to have a bonding moment over his just dorkiness. Plus, he also says hello 3 times. Hi, hello, how are you? And it's something that he's aptly mocked for.
Yeah, he says hello 3 times, and he also says goodbye 3 times.
Right. We also have John Michael Higgins as Professor Eustis Whitman. He's only in 2 episodes. But he basically tries to challenge Jeff to seize the day in 1 episode, and it's actually quite hilarious because he's like, "Mr. Winger, I know you're full of shit. Either truly seize the day or I will fail you." And Jeff's like, "I'm failing a easy A. What the hell?" Let's see.
His whole character arc is based around wanting to be Robin Williams from Dead Poets Society.
Yes, literally, he's trying. Like, that's all he's trying to be. It's hilarious.
Yes.
We also have some guest stars like Jack Black played the aforementioned Buddy. Blake Clark played Coach Herbert Bogner from the pool episode Zach was talking. Oh, not Zach. Goddammit. Swisher was talking about. Tony Hale played the pottery instructor Marion Holly, and he just addresses everyone as "my little blueberries."
Oh, Tony Hale's so good.
And he has a poster of Patrick Swayze with a line through it, and when he shows it to the class, they all gasp, and he goes, "I had it made before he died. It's not in poor taste." Because he hates the scene from Ghost where Demi and Swayze do the pottery shit, and he's like, if you ever do that in my class, I'll fucking punch you out. And obviously Jeff does it in his class just for shits and giggles. Plus, he's having an emotional breakdown, so it's not really shits and giggles, but I digress. We also got Anthony Michael Hall. He played the bully who was having issues with the snickerdoodles. He was great. Let's see. I don't even remember who Doreen is. The Politics of Human Sexuality. Was she the mother? Oh, she was the prostitute that Pierce was dating.
Oh,
Sorry,
yes, the
sorry.
older
The not the prostitute, the call girl.
Escort.
Escort. Thank you. We had Lee Majors as Admiral Lee Slaughter for beginning pottery. Let's see.
Yeah.
Catherine McPhee played Amber in Basic
Ah.
Genealogy.
Oh my God.
Are you a fan of Miss McPhee?
Yes, and especially how she looked in that episode.
That's Pierce's ex stepdaughter.
Her Pierce's ex stepdaughter with the short blonde hair.
That's why I didn't recognize her. Very Anna from OC vibes on that one. Anna Stern.
Yes.
We had.
Oh my God! Don't get me started on Anna Stern.
We had Jerry Minor, who, if I remember correctly, plays a reoccurring role in the series. Let me double check. Yes, he's involved with Troy's arc through plumbing and AC, but he
That's
only
right.
has one episode in season 1 at the end of the paintball episode. But he comes back later on in the series. We have Pat.
I thought it was a different episode. I didn't think it was a paintball episode. It's English as a second language. It's the second to last episode, where that's the one where Senor Chang gets fired.
Oh, that must be the one where Troy fixes something and.
Yes, that is where they do reverse Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah, where they have like that complicated.
Yeah, we're good.
Theory, and then Troy just takes something and fixes like the water fountain instead.
Yeah, Troy's standing here.
Oh no,
looking at this.
Doesn't he eat the chalk?
Yeah, he eats the chalk, turns around, and goes to get some water to wash it down. The water fountain is broken, and he fixes it. And Jerry, the janitor, walks around the corner and goes, "Hey, kid, what are you doing?" And he runs away. So he keeps trying to convince him to become a janitor and fix sinks and toilets. But he goes, "Man, I don't want to do that." He goes, "I want to continue to learn because this is what this is all about."
He comes back in season 2 after that paintball set series, the doubleheader, because Abed is talking to him and he's like, if you think this is bad, you should see the library. And Jerry goes, "I'm making my way there," and Abed's like drinking something, and so Abed just goes, "Have any plans for the summer?" And Jerry just goes, "Nah," because everything is wrecked. And then Abed has to throw out his drink, and Jerry just goes, "Just throw it on the ground." And he's so pissed. Oh, he's so pissed.
He is furious.
Patton Oswalt plays Nurse Jackie, which is a play off of the show at the time, Nurse Jackie. He's a nurse who it pops up when Annie fakes having appendicitis. And he's just really incompetent. And I think he also comes back in season 2 because he gives Jeff his cholesterol report. And he goes, "Yeah, your cholesterol's a little high. That's all." And Jeff has a complete meltdown over having slightly high cholesterol. So that's just very funny stuff. And when Jeff hears it, he freaks out. He goes, "Oh God, did I tell you have AIDS? That would not be the first time that has happened."
Yeah, he also tries. So Annie fakes having appendicitis so that she can get Troy to stay with her and not go on his date. And then she tries to leave with Troy when Troy leaves, and he goes, "No, we have to keep you here." He goes, "So, what's up?"
Yeah, he's trying to flirt with her.
Seeing anybody? He sucks at his job.
He also tells Troy to wear a condom if he has sex because they had an outbreak of chlamydia, and he's like, "Yeah, well, I'll make up the name because I don't remember what it's like." Sue Rothwell. She was kind of the typhoid. Marry her for chlamydia.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He literally just like, it's like, "Oh, you're going on a date?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, you'll need these." And he just hands him a whole roll of condoms. Oh, God.
Lisa Rinna plays the mother of Mark, the kid. And then Owen Wilson.
Teen.
Yes, and Owen Wilson played the other group leader. So, hell of a cast, hell of a roster, hell of a dynamic. The basic storylines for season 1 include Jeff trying to get his degree and bonding with the study group. It has to do, we get a subplot eventually where we find out about Chang's fake degree. which coincides with Annie's desire to keep the group together when she realizes that they don't all want to take Spanish 103 because, like, they need 2 semesters of a foreign language, and they've satiated that requirement, so they're going to do different things, and they're all trying to think of new ideas. And Annie realizes that if she can prove that Chang is in fact faking his degree, then that they would have to retake Spanish 102 again, and that means she'd be able to keep the group together longer. So she gets Senor Chang fired. They end up getting a real Spanish teacher instead, and the dean goes, we're not going to fail you guys because that's not fair to you. So you guys will just have to take a regular 102 final, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So they end up studying, freaking out, studying some more. They take the test and they pass, and they're like, God, we're really good at Spanish. I can't believe that. And the woman who was doing it was, I think she was Mexican. She was, only in Espanol, por favor. And so, like, they all think that they're really good at Spanish, but then it's revealed at the end that she's actually a lot easier to deal with than Chang because Pierce and her have a thing. Pierce gave her his thing, and then she made sure that they all passed.
If they go, hey, did that test seem easy for you guys? And they're all like, yeah, it did seem a little easy. And then they all walk away except Pierce. And then she walks up, they talk, and he goes,
Pierce goes, thanks for making it easy. And she replies, that's what I was going to say to you. And she winks at him.
And she goes, she says, I was going to say that to you.
I was going to say that to you during
morning.
Breakfast, but you were gone before I woke up.
You were gone before I woke up, and he said, sorry, I'm an early riser. And she says, oh, I know.
Best part is, Pierce kind of walks the opposite way of her as she's leaving, but then, like, you see him come back, he stutter steps, and you think he's going, but then he follows her. I was actually kind of sad she never came back, because that would have been a really interesting plot line to follow.
Oh, for sure.
But instead we have, in season 2, I think, Pierce ends up trying to hook up with the, what is it, the Korean or the Chinese Moist Towelette Empress.
Oh, yeah.
Who's just horrible. And Jeff's trying to do the honorable thing by making sure she doesn't, like, ruin Pierce. And then Pierce gets mad at Jeff. And then finally Jeff just concedes, you're both just terrible people. You clearly deserve each other. So
this is true.
We also find more about Troy throughout the season. He, we find out more about his backstory, his Jehovah's Witness, his football career. And that leads us to the episode where Jeff convinces Troy to join the football team, because if he doesn't, Dean Pelton is going to start sending out flyers with Jeff's image on them, something Jeff is not a fan of. So we find out that, Troy still loves football, and he's going to play, and not because anyone's asking him to, but because he knows that here, they're terrible, and there's no pressure. And all he can do is bring them to, a better place because of how terrible they are. And he never again brings up playing football for the Greendale, what was the human beings ever again.
The Greendale human beings.
The human beings mascot also debuts in that episode, and holy hell. It's this gray kind of monster, and Dean Pelton and Pierce created it by kind of saying, let's find a way to make the perfect representation of humanity without using any noticeable racial features from anyone. And they do this by saying, well, do you want any coffee? Sure. I want a Mahatma Gandhi with 2 pumps of cream to make it a Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah.
And then Dean goes, La Bamba.
La Bamba it is.
And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's what this show is. Did I miss any pertinent major arcs for this season?
Let me just double check here.
I think the Vaughn, Britta, Vaughn, Annie arc is big, but we already kind of touched on that.
Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, we've hit all the big arcs because, I mean, we talked about, or you at least went over the Jeff, Britta, and Slater love triangle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, pretty much we've covered everything. At least all of the big angles and storylines for season 1.
Okay. So let's talk some episodes, specifically Swish. Let's start with your favorites.
Okay. So let me just go over the list here real quick, just so I make sure I get the episodes right. So, I'm a I know that I had a reason for it because something in this episode stuck out to me. There was like a uh, yeah. So episode 15, romantic expressionism. That's the one where Britta and Jeff team up to try and get Annie to break up with Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
There was something about that episode that was just so fucking stupid that I was just like, this episode is fucking hilarious. I really enjoyed that episode. I can't for the light, like, I have a reason for all of the episodes that I liked, and most of them I just can't recall because my brain has just been a fucking mess over the last 2 weeks. But romantic expressionism is a great episode. I was a big fan of that one. I think it also has to do with the fact that the Kick Puncher film series that they watched.
Yes.
Really like that one. Contemporary American Poultry, where they become the chicken mafia,
Oh yeah, with Abed doing the voiceover.
is a really fucking great one. Um, I liked, of course, Football Feminism and You. That one is just it's literally because of the one line, the one set of dialogue that Jeff and Troy had. It's in your heart. That's racist. Or it's in your blood. That's racist. It's in your heart. That's racist. It's in your soul. That's gay.
That's
That's
black.
That's
That's
homophobic.
God.
Such a great, yeah. That's a great episode. Trying to think. I mean, I like Politics of Human Sexuality just because of the like trying to get Annie to come to terms with her shrewdness.
So Annie
And-
reveals that she has had sex before, but it was to her friend in his closet to Madonna's erotica, I think she says. And she
Yeah, I
never
think so.
actually saw his jangles. And then he cried afterwards. And she goes, and then I found out that that it turned him gay. And Britta goes, honey, I think he was gay before then.
Yeah.
And then she has the most epic meltdown ever where she goes, I'm fine with not being fine with this. Stop trying to change me. And she storms off. And I'm just like, you know what? Hell yeah. You don't need to be comfortable with everything.
Yeah. And I also like which one? The Science of Illusion, which is Britta's April Fool's Day prank.
Where she drops a corpse into the courtyard.
Yep. Drops the corpse into the courtyard, and Shirley and Annie play bad cop. And at the end, when they're interrogating, where Britta blames it on Jeff, and then Annie is interrogating Jeff at the study table, and she starts slamming his head into the table. Oh,
Annie,
so
what the
good.
hell?
And I'll give an honorable mention to the season finale, Pascal's Triangle Revisited. Not because of the main storyline, but because of the side story of Troy trying to come to terms with the idea of too much of a good thing, and him walking around the forgive me tranny dance with a giant 60 centimeter cookie or something like that.
It was as big as his body.
It was a gigantic cookie, and he eats. It is shown that like throughout the course of the dance, he eats at least 3/4 of this cookie, and he doesn't understand why it's making him feel bad.
He doesn't know it's making him feel bad. He's just feeling bad. And he goes, why am I feeling so bad? And then he bites the cookie.
He bites the cookie, and Jeff goes, maybe it has something to do with the 60 centimeter cookie that you've been eating. And he goes, how could this make me feel sick when it's so delicious? Dude, it's fucking great. Yeah. That one is great. The season finale just pulls a lot of a lot of great like just one-liners out of the pocket. Just like you have the Dean Pelton's Dalmatian fetish as a gag that gets shown. Um, oh what fucking what God, I can't. I wish I could remember the name of the hacky sack player that Vaughn says. That dude's fucking crazy name.
Oh, wait, hang on. Oh God, it's like Ding Dang. Oh fuck, what was it?
It's like I remember Shirley calls him like
Macadamian. She calls him
it's
Macadamian.
because of like Ingham Dingle Donger or something like that. It's like it's Junior. It's something Junior, but he's moving to Delaware to go to a college because he's been selected for a competitive hacky sack team.
Yeah, he earned a scholarship.
Oh God.
Okay, so I got 4 that I'm glad. Like you only picked one that I had, and it was the fuck. Which one was it? See, I should have kept it open. I want to say it was. Is it basic genealogy? No. Yeah, you said basic genealogy, right?
No.
No.
No, Basic Genealogy is the Family Day with Catherine McPhee.
Right.
I said Science of Illusion, Contemporary American Poultry. Um,
Oh, you football feminism. You. That's the one. That was
Yeah.
the other one. That was the one I had on my list. So I'm going to cut that one. The first one I absolutely adored is Introduction to Film. This is the one that explored Abed's dynamic within himself and within his life.
so good.
And it's set up with Abed being quote unquote controlled by his father. Gobi, played by, I'm going to mispronounce this, but you will know who he is if you ever look him up. Iqbal Thiba. He's in everything.
Yeah.
He was even in an episode of Chuck as the Wookiee.
Oh yeah, that's right, the Wookiee.
Yeah. So it's kind of hinted at, or at least it's shown that Gobi is very controlling of Abed, and you know we're supposed to be like but it's not controlling; it's frustration. So throughout the episode, Abed is filming something for his film class, and he's supposed to make a documentary. And throughout it, like he's being very blasé, very whatever, and he's like Abed, Jeff and Britt, you're gonna be my parents. And Jeff goes, I don't want to be your dad. And Abed either intentionally or unintentionally drives Britta quite loopy in this episode, where she has 2 meltdowns at least. And, like, she screams, like, why are you doing this? I just want to help you. And, like, Abed's just sitting there stone-faced, and it's causing a lot of strife within the group. But eventually, Gobi shows up to confront Jeff and Britta, and Jeff's like, I don't want anything to do with this. I've been trying to get out of this since the first fucking minute this even started. And Britta and Gobi start going at it, but then Abed says, I finished my movie, and he starts playing it. And it's not like the most revolutionary documentary. It's only like a minute long or something like that. But it's done so well that you can interpret everything he's saying. And it's kind of revealed through the documentary that Abed believes his father blames him for his mother's departure. She's left the family and is married to someone else. And Abed thinks that Gobi blames Abed for it. And it's all told throughout like visuals and kind of weirdness in this documentary. And Jeff even starts to like dog on it after it's over, and he's like, well, I wouldn't call that Citizen Kane or whatever he says. But then like the camera pans down, and Abed's father's like holding his mouth as he's watching it, tears streaming down his eyes, and he starts talking to Abed. And he's like, I never blamed you for her leaving. And Abed says something like, you never had to, or something like that. And, Gobi stands up and he goes, my son is very hard to understand. And if this class helps him be able to express himself, I'll pay for the classes. And I was just like, dude, I was like bawling the first time I saw him. I'm like, oh my God, he loves him so much.
Yeah.
Like it was a real damn good episode. And it really showed that Abed knows what he's doing, and he's competent and he's, cognitive. He's just not very able to express himself clearly. And that's when Gobi kind of takes the reins off Abed so much, because he's been trying to get Abed to follow the family's falafel business. And Abed has a great line, and he goes, business for the falafel industry used to be great, but 9/11 was kind of the 9/11 of the falafel industry. Fucking Abed. We also have Introduction to Statistics. This is the one where the Halloween episode where Jeff meets Slater for the first time. But it's also the Halloween party that Annie throws, and Annie begs Jeff to go because she's like, every time I ever threw a party in high school, no one showed up, and this is my chance to be popular finally. And she puts on the waterworks, and Jeff finally, acquiesces. Britta shows up as a squirrel, and I don't mean like a sexy squirrel. I mean she's in full garb, Rocky and Bullwinkle's squirrel suit, and she's got a giant nut. Jeff shows up without a costume. Later on, when he tries to seduce Slater at the teacher's Halloween party, he's wearing a cowboy outfit. Britta sneaks in to gift Jeff because Annie's freaking out and sees Jeff in the cowboy's outfit, and she's like, yippee-ki-yay. So I guess what we learned here is Jeff Winger has a cowboy outfit in the trunk of his car. Which brings up a lot of questions that are never resolved that I do want resolved.
I mean, yes, it's why the fuck does he have a cowboy outfit?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not mad at it because
I have questions. I want to know.
Yeah.
We also get Abed's first introduction as Batbed, his take on Batman.
Oh, yeah.
And like he just says gibberish things like, sometimes you'll see me, sometimes you won't, sometimes I'll be up there, but not on Tuesdays at 8. I have gym class. Like just random shit like that. And there's actually some great post-credit stuff because Abed and Troy, Danny Pudi and Donald Glover. Which one? Donald? Yeah, Donald.
Donald.
Yeah, Donald. They're improving most of these lines with one another. So like they're just riffing back and forth, and it's so funny. Troy goes, I wouldn't want to. No. I think I'd be okay being. No, I wouldn't be okay being a gummy bear because I don't want to eat myself. But you'd be tasty. That's true. It's also an episode where we find out that Pierce is having issues with getting old, and he ends up swapping pills with Starburns. Pierce has a bad trip and freaks out while dressed as the Beastmaster, only to be saved from a falling fort by Abed in a Batman outfit. It's a wild affair. And it ends with Senor Chang and Pierce riding on a moped to get ice cream. Oh, this fucking show, man. We then have the Christmas episode, Comparative Religion, where Shirley tries to stop the crew from getting into a fight with Anthony Michael Hall's crew. This is also the episode where Britta goes full on into her conspiracy theories, where she thinks that all men fight because they're trying to repress homosexual fantasies. To which Abed points out, well, boxers do fight for the belt and the purse. And Britta's like, oh my God, this could be a paper. And it eventually builds up to Jeff going out to meet Anthony Michael Hall and telling him, I'm not going to fight. And Anthony Michael Hall punches him, and then Shirley goes, Jeff, kick his ass. And then, like, the entire crew go at it. And the best part is, like, the fight scene happens in slow motion, and, like, all of Anthony Michael Hall's guys are, like, doing flips and kicks, and they're, like, they're all, like, jacked up, and they're all, got, like, 8-packs, and they're all, like, Cirque du Soleil acrobatic. And then you see, like, Annie, she's, like, putting her hands up, like, trying to, duck and dive. I'm like, what? Shirley starts kicking the shit out of someone with a candy cane. And at one point, Shirley's got someone on the ground, and the guy's like, please, it's Christmas. And she's like, it's December 18th. And she cracks him in the head with a candy cane.
Not even that close to Christmas. It was December 10th.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because the whole thing was like they were going to have a Christmas party before they all left for the holidays. Because the kids were going to be at Andre's, and she's like, I'm not really going to have a family Christmas this year, and you guys are my family. But as she continues to guilt them, like, surely it's December 10th. But eventually, they end up having their end of the year Christmas party after all, and they're all beat to shit, but they won, so they're all very smiley. And I think like Pierce, Jeff was sitting next to Abed, I think, or something like that, and Pierce kind of leans in and he goes, Jeff, you're a man now. And he's like, or no, what was it? He's like, Jeff, I'm glad that I was the first person to punch you because you're a man now. And Jeff looks at Pierce and goes, Pierce, you punched me like 9 times, or you punched me after like 9 other people already hit me. You didn't need to do it. And Jim Pierce just goes, you're welcome, Jeffrey. So it kind of just shows you the warpedness of Pierce's mentality. And then finally, Modern Warfare, the Paintball episode, which is probably the episodes throughout the first 2 episodes that are kind of heralded as the favorites for a lot of people. This was to get a waiver to be able to take early classes and to set your own schedule.
Priority registration.
Thank you. Turns out it doesn't actually exist, and it was supposed to be a little quick game of paintball, but it ends up going like a day plus into it, and Jeff doesn't even know what's going on to start the episode because he goes to take a nap in his car. So when he arrives, he has no idea what's going on until I think it was Abed who tells him. So it's very much like everyone's against one another, and the study group ends up having to hang by one another and get through this, and it eventually gets to the point where everyone's getting taken out after each other, and it's down to just Britta and Jeff, and Britta thinks Jeff's got shot, and Jeff's like, "Oh no, it's just blood." Oh no, no. Yeah. He's like, "Oh no," and then he just looks and he goes, "Oh thank God, it's just blood."
Oh thank God, it's just blood.
So Britta actually like sutures him up in the study room, and this is the culmination of their sexual tension between the two, and they start making fun of like, "Oh, if the study group was here, they'd be like, oh yeah, we would just make out already. Oh, you just do it on the table." And she's like, "Yeah, because your fit bod and my trembling feminine sensibilities," and they're like, blah, blah, blah. And they're like joking about it, and then they actually do it. But then Britta pulls a gun on Jeff after after they do it, and Jeff's like, "Did you sleep with me just so you can get priority registration?" She's like, "No, I slept with you because I wanted to. Now I'm going to get priority registration. Don't be gross." But unbeknownst to them, it turns out Dean Pelton is very concerned about the property damage of the school, so he brings in not Dean Pelton, he brings in Senor Chang, a semi-professional paintballer, to finish the game. And I don't know what he promised Chang. I forget about that. But Chang walks in with like a fucking high-end paintball gun, and like everyone else just has like a little pistol. So Chang is just shooting bullets everywhere. And Britt is like, let me take this shot for you. And she and Chang start going at it in a pretty cool fucking sequence. But after Chang gets hit, Chang reveals that he has a paintball grenade strapped to him, and he starts laughing like the Predator.
It's even worse than a paintball grenade. It's basically a suicide bomber vest.
Yes.
Full of like
paint.
Soft drink bottles of paint.
Yeah. It's just a paint explosion. And Britta just like, she just kind of resigns her fate because she's already been shot, I think. And Jeff dives out of the study room as it explodes. And he pulls a Die Hard on the Dean, kicks down the door. Dean! And eventually he gets priority registration, which he gives to Shirley, so Shirley could be able to schedule her entire schedule around so she can see her kids more often, which is a point of contention during the episode, is that she doesn't see them enough. So they end up having like a very big kind of bonding experience at the end of it. So it's definitely good. They kick it up hardcore in season 2 with that. But by the by, the director of season 1's paintball episode was Justin Lin, who, if I remember correctly, is the same guy who did all the Fast and the Furious movies and Star Trek Beyond. So like a heavy hitter in the action genre. So that's probably why this episode is so good. Is there anything else about season 1 that has piqued your interest that you want to comment on before you wrap freshman year up?
Not really. I mean, to me, this is like, out of all the great TV shows and any TV show that has any sort of cult following, this is the kind of start that they have where you may not be on board initially, but the dialogue and the banter between characters, to me, it's very similar to Scrubs, which gets... Excuse me. Scrubs actually gets referenced in one episode where Abed is describing Jeff and like how he kind of reminds him, and he says that he's like 70% Zach Braff from Scrubs.
And doesn't Jeff respond with, "How dare you?"
He goes, "Zach Braff?" And he goes, "Sorry." Which I think, first of all, fuck you. Zach Braff is a national treasure. And maybe one day the entire world will forgive him for Garden State. But
well, at least it gave us cute Natalie Portman, so
It did. But yeah, it is the same. It's the same ideology to me of like the concept for the show may not be perfect, but we do have a cast that is pretty much near perfect.
I think the
And
casting is perfect, truthfully.
yeah, and the banter back and forth is just fantastic.
I think a good cast has to be kind of like a meal. You can't just all have chocolate cake. You know, like that'd be
Right.
like, you know, the chocolate cake would be just a Jeff or Troy or Abed kind of personality. Like just the funny all the time, nothing else happens. You gotta have your steak, you gotta have your greens, you gotta have your protein, you know, your starches, maybe some fruit on the side, and that's kind of what this, you know, this casting is. Like with Pierce, he's probably the least liked character, but if you don't have Pierce, you lose an aspect of the dynamic that makes this work. You know, you sometimes have to have the bitterness to fully enjoy the sweetness. So
Right.
I think this cast kind of works perfectly. And even when they start turning over some of the cast, like in season 5 and 6, I love the people they brought in to replace them, especially like Buzz Hickey in season 5. He was great.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved him. He was great. Ermin Trout from Breaking Bad, or whatever his name was. So next week, zombie episodes. Star Wars Paintball.
Yep.
Doc Potterywood is back. We'll talk more about Doc Potterywood next week because that's really where a lot of his stuff comes in. Oh, was this the season with the? Yeah. Okay, so hang on. I do want to talk real fast about the pool episode, the billiards episode, because while I was not a fan of that arc, the second arc of that episode, Physical Education, had them had most of the crew on a boat in the middle of the parking lot.
I forgot about that.
Because it's just
I forgot about the one scene in particular.
Because it's just fucking dumb. So, no. I'm sorry. That's not the billiards class. That's the pottery class, beginner's pottery, because there's a dual kind of.
Oh yeah.
There's a play because the pottery guy says no ghosting, the yachting guy says no Titanicing.
No Titanicing. Yeah.
Or no Leonardo DiCaprio, whatever it was. So in the pottery episode, Jeff is getting his ass kicked by fucking Doc Potterywood. And Doc Potterywood's a nice dude. Like, he's not trying to make anyone feel bad. Jeff's just trying to live up to his attractiveness, his magnetism. And we find out that Doc Potterywood is a real likable guy, real nice guy. He's a doctor who's doing some pottery classes at community college to unwind because all he does is save little children all day. But in his own inner monologue, all he ever hears is his mother saying, you know, your brother died and it should have been you. So he's got a twisted fucking past, man. You know, he's overcoming his obstacles. But Jeff is having an emotional breakdown because he always thought he was the best at everything, but he's not good at pottery. And it eventually ends up with Jeff kind of talking to Potterywood about it, and it's real. But none of that matters. The parts that really kind of hit home for me was when Jeff has had his lowest point, he comes to Pierce. Now, Pierce is with the rest of the group doing parking lot boat managing.
He literally is sanding down a boat.
Yes, but there's a point to why he's doing it. So it's Jeff, it's Pierce, Shirley, Troy, Abed. No, I don't remember who's there. But it's the other group because Abed, Annie, and Jeff are at the pottery. Everyone else is at the yachting. So they're learning how to set the mast and jerry the curls and shimmy the shake. I don't know what the fuck you do on a boat. But the instructor says you have to treat this like a real kind of, like you're really out on the ocean. So if you lose something over the edge, it's gone. And sure shit, Pierce gets hit by like the boom handle thingy and ends up falling off the boat. So they're like, yep, Pierce is gone. So as the crew is continuing to do their thing for their class, Pierce goes to a little shop on the school grounds and starts making his little boat. And Jeff rolls up and starts talking to Pierce about it. And he goes like, "Why are you going back?" And Pierce is like, "Why not? You know, just because he's made his decision about me doesn't mean I've made my decision." And he starts to really kind of like talking to Jeff, like, you know, if you feel like there's something in your life that you want to do, like, don't let anyone tell you not to do it. So Pierce gets into basically what looks like a downhill soapbox car. But he's got a little paddle, so he starts paddling himself out to the boat. And the line of the season, it's not comical, but it's fucking inspirational. And as Pierce is paddling away, Jeff shouts out to him, "Hey, Pierce, good luck." And Pierce responds with, "Don't need it. Never had it." And I'm just like,
oh man,
that's a line.
Actually, a good line.
Yeah, it's really a good line. And I'm glad that I remembered to talk about that before the end of this episode, because that's the line that made me fall in love with the show, because it has heart on top of everything else. So next week, sophomore season, zombies. Chang babies. We meet Andre.
Yes, yes, we do meet Andre.
We have 2 paintball episodes, and we get Betty White taking down Jeff Winger with a collection of tools. Also, Troy and Abed sell out. Just a little taste of what's to come. So, rundown time. RealNerdCorp.com. RealNerdCorp.com. Twitter's NERDCORP. Instagram is Real NerdCorp. Website, once again, is RealNerdCorp.com. Swisher Personals.
You can find me on Twitter at X2000Gregs. That's X2000GREGS. You can find me on Instagram at 2000Gregs. 2000GREGS. Chad, where can they find your personal stuff?
My personals are Twitter at Chad NerdCorp. Nope. I'm right. Chad NerdCorp. ChadNerdCorp. And on Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut. This has been the what the fuck do we call this podcast again?
Chad and Swisher do a community podcast.
So be sure to tune in next week, season 2.
Yep, you'll just have to tune in, but right now we're out of time and we gotta go. All right, we got stuff that we gotta do. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week. We're out of time. We gotta go.